Hello, good afternoon. Uh, my name is Siri Gamage, rail advocate, regional rail advocate from Armidale. I just thought of providing you an update about what happened in the last 6 months or so in relation to our campaign to get the Northern Railway line reopened, as well as the actions of the New South Wales government, actions of the Armidale Regional Council and Glen Innes Regional Council about their rail trail plan, uh, as well as other related matters. Um, you may probably know by now that New South Wales government, through Transport New South Wales, instituted the planning process for New England Northwest region, along with other 8 regions in the state, to prepare a regional transport plan for the next 20 years. It was called Strategic Regional Integrated Transport Plan, SRITP. So the Transport New South Wales planning team and minister herself requested residents in New England Northwest region to make submissions about their transport needs and their suggested solutions, as well as uh, asking them to put some comments in the interactive map in their website. So in good faith, a lot of people provided submissions and comments, because the guidelines stated that this planning team will consider all modes of transport and how to integrate them, uh, and provide better services, transport services for regional residents. Recently, actually, probably about a few weeks ago, this Transport New South Wales planning team released a draft regional transport plan for New England Northwest. And even though many of us had pointed out the need for reopening the railway line from Armidale to Queensland as a way of solving the transport problem in this region, particularly north of Armidale, this draft plan does not include any initiatives, not even committing to conduct a feasibility study about this rail line. And actually, it appears that New South Wales government was not at all interested in reviving any regional railway line, not only in New England Northwest, but in other regions as well. So instead, what they are proposing, they proposed was to introduce more bus services connecting towns like Glen Innes, Tenterfield, and Armidale, and so on, Tamworth and Inverell, and also encouraging or appreciating the work councils are doing in terms of active transport, meaning one example is the rail trail or the bike trail in the rail corridor, New England Rail Trail. And also another suggestion is try to connect these towns by bike paths. So they have completely disregarded the train line, anything to do with the train line, but then they are proposing bikes and buses as the solution for our transport issues. So many of us, hundreds of us who sent submissions and comments, we were very disappointed. And actually, after this draft plan was released for further comments from community and stakeholders, federal government made a decision not to fund inland rail beyond parks. So that came as a shock to many of the people who are living along that route, Indian Rail route to the Queensland state. And so they were basically critical of that decision. But from our point of view, what we see is an opportunity to open another second north-south railway link between Queensland and New South Wales for passenger train as well as freight trains. Because what we are left now is only the coastal route, which is a single track train line connecting New South Wales with Queensland, going through Coffs Harbour and Grafton and so on. So we send more submissions highlighting the fact that this draft transport plan for our region does not meet our requirements, and then suggesting the planning team to include some short-term or medium-term initiatives in order to look at this line and at least conduct a feasibility study. So in that draft transport plan, it also says that the New South Wales government or the federal government have no plans to reopen the rail line. Actually, both councils, Armidale and Glen Innes Council, jumped onto that statement in the draft plan, and then they started justifying their rail trail plan by removing the rail line, saying that the New South Wales government is not interested in reviving the railway line. So therefore, we better use it for constructing a recreational rail trail. I'm sure many of you get confused when you hear the word rail trail, because actually it is a bike trail in the rail corridor. But many people, unsuspecting people, think that it is something to do with the rail services. It's not the case. Rail trail is simply a exaggerated bike trail in the rail corridor. So keep that in mind when you think about this. So that is where we are at now. And I was looking at Senate estimates early this year and about the Department of Transport as well as Arts. And in that Senate hearings, the chair of the Portfolio Committee 6, Greens MLC, asked the Minister, Jenny Atchison, how much of transport budget is spent on regional New South Wales. She was unable to answer it directly, and then, of course, after a while, one of the secretaries came to her rescue, and he pointed out that out of the 55 billion transport budget, 1.25 billion, which is less than 2%, spent allocated for regional New South Wales. That includes the budget for roads. So there is no money in the transport budget for this financial year, as far as I can understand, for reviving any regional railways. Can you think about why? Why this silence? Why this ignorance or ignoring of these regional railway lines in New South Wales? At a time like this, particularly when there is a war in the Middle East, restarting again, and it can impact on the fuel supply, and then it can impact on the trucks and supply chains and the cost of living and so on. So we really need our government to look at reviving our regional railways. There are more than 3,000 kilometers of unused, non-operational railway lines in regional New South Wales. And in comparison, Victorian government has been spending more than $4 billion to upgrade their regional railways. So we are actually lagging behind, and even when federal government is insisting for meeting decarbonization targets, we have to shift freight from road to rail. But New South Wales government seems to be very sleeping at the wheel, actually, when it comes to restoring any regional railway line in the state. How can we go forward for the next 20 years without any commitment from the New South Wales Labor government to revive our regional railways? I mean, that is simply not acceptable to thousands and thousands of people who signed that 2024 petition to the New South Wales Parliament seeking passenger trains from Armidale to Jennings and Wollongara. Actually, this transport issue is much more acute in places like Enterfield, Deepwater, Wollongara, and even Glen Innes and Guyra, rather than in Armidale. In Armidale, we have a once-a-day train to Sydney, which takes about 8 hours and more, and only one train. And we are lucky to have that train, but we are waiting for the new trains to come because the old train in operation is falling apart, bits and pieces. Air conditioning doesn't work in hot summer days, and there are various problems. So recently I went to Sydney, and in the section from Moree to Sydney, the hot water boiler didn't stop working. So people couldn't have tea or coffee or anything in hot water during the rest of the journey. I mean, this is how it is. And while Sydney and some other routes have got their new trains, we are still waiting and don't know when it will come. So the second issue I need to update is Armidale Regional Council. In their October meeting, October 2025 meeting, they submitted a paper by Director of Precincts and Place and Planning or something. He presented a paper suggesting that $500,000 from council budget and another $600,000 from an undisclosed external source to be spent on preliminary work for the rail trail from Armidale to Ben Lomond, I think 67 kilometers. And also giving authority for the general manager to engage Department of Public Works to do this preliminary work. So altogether it was $1,100,000, but $500,000 from council budget, ratepayers' money, and $600,000 from an external source. So after that, the council engaged Public Works, and they were involved in consulting the Aboriginal community and organizations, as well as I believe that they are involved in preparing the environmental impact statement, because there are three conditions or requirements according to the New South Wales Rail Trail Framework. First is the community support. Council has to show community support. Second is submit an environmental impact statement. And then third one is actually a sound business case. So the council initiated the community consultation process, I think in early June, early June, I think, by recollection, and they completed it about a week or so ago, a couple of weeks ago. So at the moment they are processing the information. The community consultation consisted of several dimensions. One was the council had have your say page, and then of course in that there was also a survey. People had to register by providing their name, email address, and I think address as well, to comment in that page, as well as answer answer the questions in the survey. That was one dimension. Second one was face-to-face consultations. General manager wrote to all the landholders along the railway line within our LG area, informing about this community consult. And then the council staff, I think together with public works staff, went to various stations along the way and met some members of the community and discussed the plan and obtain their views. And the third element or dimension was the council asked people to send their submissions by email or by letter. And in the instructions, it was mentioned by the general manager that any submissions will be probably available on public display later on. So I believe in the June meeting, the general manager informed the council in response to a question that 85% of the submissions from all these sources are supportive of the rail trail. Only 15% are not supportive. This comes as a surprise because later on I understand the council staff are still processing the information. How can the general manager say this and then the mayor in a Facebook post also repeat the same, saying that 85% support the rail trail, while the information processing process is not complete yet? That is a surprise to us, but we will look at that later on. But the most important thing is, in the June meeting of the Armidale Regional Council, they approved the budget for 2026-27. One of the items was about 1.5 million expenditure for the rail trail preliminary work. Rail trail preliminary work. Preliminary work means they are preparing an application, fresh application with the support of public works to be submitted to New South Wales government. And so this community consultation was integral part of that. So we are waiting to see the summary report or the report to the council from this community consultation in order to see how many respondents were from the local government area and how many were from outside, basically Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, or Newcastle, or anywhere else. I mean, what should happen is the people, ratepayers and the residents in the LG area should have a major say when it comes to this kind of major infrastructure development involving the removal of the existing rail line, because the existing rail line is our lifeline to Queensland. When there are no any other trains covering New England region, and especially Armidale Regional Council area as well as Glen Innes Regional Council area, it is our lifeline. That has to be redeveloped, and both councils have to be advocates for with the governments seeking a better investment for this area for our transport infrastructure. So when we mention this, the mayor, especially Armidale Mayor Mr. Sam Copeland, says that this is not council responsibility. And he is asking us to talk to the New South Wales government. But you know and I know that the government basically listen to councils because they like to partner with councils on various infrastructure projects and other projects. So that is how our system of governance work. And but for some reason, our mayor and to some extent mayor in Glen Innes Council also seem to think that it is not one of their primary responsibilities. Therefore, they are pushing this rail trail plan as if that it is our way to the future. Our way to the future cannot be executed on the basis of bicycles. We need some kind of other modern transport service. Recently, I was in China on a tour with 40 other Australians, and I saw with my own eyes how advanced they are in terms of high-speed rail. So they have covered 60% of their country with high-speed rail. 8 high-speed rail lines north-south, 8 high-speed rails east and west. How many high-speed rails do we have in Australia? May I ask? And one is being planned from Sydney to Newcastle, and even if it is completed, it will not match the speed of Chinese high-speed rail. In China, high-speed rail is about 350 kilometers at the moment, and they are planning for double that amount later on. They are doing the research. So anyway, we need better rail transport in our region for regional growth, population growth, business growth, attracting industry, as the mayor is very fond of, and also attracting professionals and residents, ratepayers to this region, because anybody coming to this region from metropolitan areas and coastal areas will expect better transport. And all what our council, Armidale Council, can think about is freight by trucks. Actually, I mean, in the submission to this draft transport plan, our general manager, he says the first point, he is asking the transport planning team to widen the New England highway from this area, Armidale, to Queensland, and make it the north-south freight line. So that's okay. I mean, he can say that and the government can accept that. But we, the rail campaigners, we want our rail line to be restored for passengers, heritage trains, as well as freight. Because there is a lot of freight, container freight coming down from southern Downs, Lockyer Valley area to Sydney, supermarkets in Sydney. And one of our colleagues have observed that every day more than 270 trucks pass Tenterfield with this kind of freight. And also there is a group of business people wanting to establish a sort of business precinct based in Guyra. They have bought this old abattoir, and one company called New England Innovation and Development Company, they want to establish a new meat processing plant there. And the next to it, David Peters, Mr. David Peters is looking at setting up one of his facilities for producing organic food for export. And I believe there are 3 other businesses also wanting to join them. And then across the road, there is industrial subdivision also. So bordering this area, there is a railway track going into the old abattoir as well. So the Armidale Council, if they have any interest in supporting businesses, they should jump on this kind of precinct development in Guyra and assist them in whatever manner they can. But I don't think that is happening at the moment. They are putting all their eggs in one basket. The basket is rail, trail, rail, trail. So that is where we are at in terms of that. But on the other hand, when we submitted our petition to the New South Wales Parliament in 2024, there was a debate in the Parliament on 8th of February. Minister Jenny Aitchison, Regional Transport Minister, while appreciating our efforts, she wanted us to submit a business case. So we railway campaigners, just volunteers, we don't have that much of money to engage a transport consultant, which can cost about up to $500,000, $500,000. In a meeting with Armidale Mayor a couple of months ago, in March, I think, we had a 2-hour discussion with him. We also requested him to support us to conduct a business case. He expressed the same line. I mean, this is not a council business. We asked him, why is it that the rail trail is a council business then? Shouldn't it be left in the hands of friends of New England Rail Trail rather than spending ratepayers' money for a planning exercise? By now, about $2 million allocated. God knows how many more millions of ratepayers' money will be spent as we go on. So I appeal to all the people in Armidale Regional Council area to open their eyes to this expenditure and burden on ratepayers because of this rail trail project. I actually used to call it fail trail project, because the council lost about $5.4 million government grant in 2024 because council could not raise the necessary funds. And after a while now, they have come up with this new attempt to prepare a fresh application. And for preparing the application, government doesn't provide any grants or money. Their justification is that therefore they have to use ratepayers' money. $2 million? Why is Armidale Council spending $2 million, whereas for the same task, Glen Innes Council is spending only $170,000? What is the secret? How much is our council paying Public Works for their consultancy services? We ought to know these details. But anyway, I mean, that's where the rail trail story is going, and it is not the end of the story, and it is also not a done deal. Some of the people who participated in the community consultation, they think that because of the involvement of Public Works advisory, they thought that this is a done deal now, and it's a council project. It is not the case. And when the council submit the application to Minister for Regional New South Wales, Tara Moriarty, and Minister has to consult about 6 types of stakeholders, including the nearby councils, national parks, Aboriginal organization, and more. And then after that, she has to make up her own mind about whether to approve the application or not. And during that period, people in the local government area can send further submissions to the minister as well, I believe. And anyway, that is where we are at now. And on one hand, the government basically has let us down, I mean the rail supporters down along this railway corridor by not including any initiative, short-term, medium-term initiative to restore the rail line. And even though we were promised that they will be looking at all modes of transport, and also it is unusual, very unusual for a planning process. In the middle of the planning, preparing the plan, the planners suddenly say that the government has no interest in or plan to restore the rail line. Isn't it very surprising? And anyway, and to us it was very disappointing. And we appeal to our members of parliament, both state level and federal level, to look into this issue, and hundreds and thousands of people's desire for a decent train service beyond Armidale towards Queensland, and support us in the parliaments and ask questions from the ministers and do whatever in their capacity to help us. And after all, we are community organization. There are several community organizations, including the Trains North, and also there is New England Railway Incorporated. Actually, they are planning to operate trains from Armidale to Llangottlin, passenger trains, freight trains, and heritage trains. They have recently applied to obtain a license from the government to operate trains. So their intention is to help Gaira businesses as well to provide a sort of freight service to Tamworth, Intermodal, and also to Newcastle. So the point is, I mean, we in New England, there are a lot of producers, manufacturers, businesses. We ought to be able to get our freight by rail and also to export our produce by using rail, because it is far efficient and also reasonable in terms of costs as well. Because in a container, you can basically truck load basically in one container, and like so many containers in a train. So thank you very much for all your support, and I hope you take whatever I mentioned into your heart and spread the word among your colleagues, family members, and contact us if you need further information. Thank you very much.